All right. We are back for a brand new video. And today I've got not one term, not 5 terms, not 7 terms. I've got 9 terms that are incredibly vital for you to know, for you to understand, to be successful with social media marketing agency. And look, the version of you watching this video right now at the very start of this video, and the version of you after watching this video, after consuming, understanding these terms, we're talking about 2 different people. This before version we're talking about knows a bit about digital marketing, knows a bit about the online space, is looking into SMMA, maybe has started their SMMA. This after version is someone who's been in the space for 2+ years, someone who understands numbers, who understands data-driven marketing, who understands e-commerce metrics, who understands business growth online. We're literally talking about 2 different people. And if you want to undergo that transformation, all you got to do is keep on watching. So we've got 9 terms here, and I'm actually going to start from the very last one. I'm going to start from the 9th term, and I'm going to go in ascending order of importance. Now, the first term that you need to understand to be successful with your social media marketing agency, and especially in the e-commerce space, if you have e-commerce clients, if you're looking to get into that space, is a term called repeat purchase rate, RPR. And what it refers to is the amount of times that a customer buys from an e-commerce brand. Now, what I want you to understand right now is that there are 2 types of e-commerce brands that you'll come across. Now, the first one is the one I just mentioned. So we've got the repeat purchase rate. And I apologize for the handwriting, but bear with me because this writing surface is not the best. But we've got repeat purchase rate, and the other one is one-time purchase brands. Okay, so what is the core difference between these 2 brands? It's actually quite simple. Now, here we're looking at a customer life cycle. Okay, so we've got the front end here, and we've got the back end. Okay. And this whole thing right here is lifetime value, which I'll get to in just a bit, okay? Customer lifetime value, CLTV, okay? Now, that is actually the 8th term, which I'll talk about in just a bit. But for now, what I want you to understand is that we've got a front end value, and then we've got a back end value. Now, for a lot of the high repeat purchase brands, most of the money that they make will be with the customer lifetime value, will be there. Now, for most of the brands that have a high repeat purchase rate, most of their value, most of the money that they will make from a customer will be during the lifetime, right? So it won't be on that front end value, won't be with their first purchase, right? So maybe we acquire a customer for $27, right? And maybe we make let's just say we make a $1 profit, okay? Now, they're completely fine just making $1 profit, or even just breaking even on this front end, because the lifetime value of this customer, let's just say, is $276, right? And maybe the total profit will be $178, right? So they're completely fine just breaking even or making a tiny bit of profit on the front end, because they understand the massive benefit of just getting someone through the door at that point, right? And so a lot of brands are completely fine breaking even. Now, what are some of the niches that you'll see high repeat purchase rates? For example, cosmetics, right? If you buy a cream, if you buy a fragrance, that will usually last the customer 2, 3, 4 months, right? And they'll have to buy your skincare, they'll have to buy that fragrance again, if the product is obviously good, right? We've also got personal care, right? Dollar Shave Club is a perfect example of a brand that is completely fine just breaking even on that front end, or even losing a bit of money, right? Because they understand the lifetime value of a customer to them, right? So they may lose $2 or $3 to acquire a customer, right? But the lifetime value of this customer is going to be massive. So they're completely fine doing that, right? I don't want to get too sidetracked, but essentially in business, the business that wins, the person that wins is the person that can actually spend the most to acquire a customer, right? So if Dollar Shave Club can actually take a hit of $10, so they can actually lose $10 on that front end to acquire a customer, right? Then they're going to beat out all their competitors, because they can just outspend their competitors to acquire a customer, simply because their customer journey, their customer experience, their product is so good that the lifetime value of this customer is going to be massive. So they're completely fine actually losing money on that front end. And that's when you know you've got an incredible brand, when you've got a brand that can literally lose money on that front end simply because your customers love your product so much. And when they buy it time and time and time again. And they bring on as well new customers into the ecosystem. So that is that for repeat purchase rate brands. Now, on the flip side, we've got one-time purchase brands, right? So again, we draw, that's an incredibly bad line. Again, this surface is not the best. But we've got a front end, okay? And we've got a back end. Now for these brands, they make most of their money on that first purchase. And typically these brands also have a higher average order value, AOV, right? And so it might cost $278 to buy their product, right? And then the lifetime value, the customer lifetime value could come out on average to be, $281, right? Just simply because maybe an odd customer buys, the product twice. And so most of the money is made on that front end, and you better make them a profit on that front end, because otherwise it's going to be very hard for them to actually scale their business, right? Let's just say they make $150 profit on that front end, right? If you don't make the money on that front end, again, it's going to be very hard to scale their business. So these are completely different types of businesses, and these are completely different types of sales funnels. A lot of people that do e-commerce marketing, it pains me to see this, but they don't look at the sales funnel before they start running ads for their clients. You want to make sure that you have a sales funnel in place. You want to make sure that you understand the nature of the product and the context of the product that you're selling, right? Is it a one-time purchase, or is it a repeat purchase rate? If the lifetime value of a customer is massive, right? Maybe you have a conversation with your client, you tell them, hey, as long as we're hitting break-even ROAS, we're good, right? Do you understand why that is? Yes, we do. Cool. Then let's start running ads and let's aim for this cost of acquisition, right? I could talk about this for ages, but essentially, I want you to understand that there are two types of e-commerce brands usually, right? Obviously, there are other various categories and there's more nuance to this, but all you need to understand for now that will set you apart from 99% of e-com agency owners is that we've got high repeat purchase rate brands, and we've also got one-time purchase brands. Examples of niches in the e-com space that have one-time purchase: home decor, usually, right? For example, I'm not buying that sofa that I've got right in front of me every single month, right? Tech is usually another one, right? Unless you're Apple and people change their phones every single year. Unless you're Apple, typically if I buy a speaker like my Bang & Olufsen speaker, right, I'm not gonna buy another one until maybe in 5 years, right, or 10 years. And usually these products, just like I said, right, they have a higher average order value. Art, for example, luxury goods is a good example as well, and the list goes on and on. But I think you get the point. So that is that for the 9th term, and the 8th term, just like I mentioned, is the customer lifetime value. So like I explained, the lifetime value of a customer is how much a customer is worth to you over a lifetime, right? So when running ads for a vegan snack brand, right, a customer may buy the try at home sample set for $27. And that is what will be recorded in the ads manager. But what you need to be aware of, since we cannot track it on our end, you can track it on Shopify, but on the ads manager, it's actually quite hard to account for the lifetime value of a customer because Facebook does not give you the names of the people that have bought, right? But let's just say Lucy bought the sample set, right? If Lucy then goes on to try this sample set at home, right, goes on to really like this brand, and then goes on to buy the full size snack, that will contribute to the lifetime value of Lucy, because Lucy has not only spent $27 but has now upgraded to the $45 full size snack, right? And so we cannot account for that, but it is because of us that Lucy is now in the ecosystem, right? And Lucy is going to be buying from them time and time again. So although we cannot account for it on our end, we are actually indirectly responsible for Lucy's next purchases, right? And so the lifetime value of a customer really needs to be accounted for. And you should definitely have a conversation with your client about how much a customer is worth to them over a lifetime. Because as much as we just focus on that first purchase, it's really, really valuable to know how much a customer is worth to them over that lifetime. So that is that for the 8th term, and now moving on to the 7th. Now the 7th term has all to do with sales funnels, and I'm sure you've heard about sales funnels thrown around a lot in the space. And what I want to do now is actually break it down into its very simple components, because I feel like a lot of people think it's very complex, but really it's just a very simple process. So a sales funnel looks a bit like this. Obviously there's a very badly drawn sales funnel, but you guys get the vibe of this video, just really bad hand drawing. And at the very bottom of the funnel, we've got our desired outcome, right? So let's just say we're running ads for an e-commerce client. So we've got a purchase, right? We've got money. Someone has taken out their card and paid for a product. Now, there are different stages to this funnel. The first stage is called top of the funnel. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? At TOF. That is the abbreviation, and that is the term that we're talking about right now. So TOF is the top of the funnel. Now, the second stage is MOF, middle of the funnel. And the final one you can probably guess is BOF. Now, why have different stages of the funnel? First of all, what you need to understand, if you don't already, is a funnel is simply just the journey that we take a prospect, someone who's heard about the brand, someone who knew nothing about the brand first, right? But has now heard about the brand, has now had an interaction, an engagement with us, to then get them to become a customer of ours, right? So what we first show them is going to be different to what they see from us, right? Just before they buy. And the reason why that is because they are at different stages of the funnel. For example, with our top of the funnel, we have to build more trust, right? We have to actually get their attention, right? To hook them into the brand, right? Then the middle of the funnel is usually the consideration stage, right? So we start indoctrinate them about what we stand for, our ethics, our values, what our product actually solves. We also start getting rid of the most common objections. We're talking, social proof, we're talking authority, we're adding a bit of urgency as well. And then bottom of the funnel, for us at least, is all about omnipresence. Usually a prospect takes 7 touch points to become a customer. So we're everywhere for our clients, right? Whether it be Google retargeting, whether it be YouTube ads, whether it be retargeting people on the apps that they use on their phones, right? We are everywhere for our clients, and that is our retargeting ecosystem, right? This is retargeting as well, and this is for cold audiences. Okay. Now, again, I could talk about this for ages, but what you need to understand when it comes to building a funnel for e-commerce is that the top of the funnel, the first thing you should actually do is get crystal clear on the core offers that you're going to be driving, right? So core offer, usually we go for 1 to 2 core offers. The core offers that you're going to be driving for your clients. A few things to consider when picking your core offer. Is it the best seller? Usually the best sellers are going to be your core offers that you push to a cold audience. Does it have really, really attractive price, whether it's irresistible or whether you're at, for example, a little bundle that is higher average order value, but solves a lot of problems for the end consumers. So people are willing to pay more money for it, right? Does it have a good landing page that we can drive people to, right? To indoctrinate them on the brand, to educate them as well, to add social proof, etc., etc. You want to make sure you pick those core offers, because the biggest mistake you can do starting out with e-commerce brands is advertising to a collection page or driving people to a homepage. It's not just purely about the traffic, right? It's not just purely driving people to whatever landing page, right? It's not about driving people to their website. It's about making sure that the traffic that lands on that landing page actually converts. We are accountable for that final click, that final conversion, that final add to cart and purchase, right? So you want to make sure that all that traffic that you're driving actually converts. And the way you do that is making sure that you have a high converting landing page that you can drive people to, not a homepage, not a collection page. So that's that for the 7th term, understanding that we've got different stages of the funnel. We've got top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. And depending on where the customer is, they'll get different messaging, will trigger different emotions, and will tap into different pain points. So that is that for the 7th term, and now into the 6th one. But before we get into it, if you're enjoying this video so far, you probably know what to do if you're not new to my channel. Go ahead and smash the like button. YouTube just finds it extremely sexy when you do that, and I really appreciate it. And with that being said, the 6th term that you must understand to be successful with your social media marketing agency is CRO, conversion rate optimization. Now, this is particularly important if you're doing, again, e-commerce brands. But a lot of agencies, the main mistake that they do, especially in the e-commerce space, is they just look at business growth from a Facebook ads lens, from an email marketing lens, from a Google ads lens, right? They are blinded by their service. And it is a really bad symptom that's going to lead to a lot of frustration, that's going to lead to a lot of just poor results, or if the results are okay, you could be doing so much better. And the reason why I say that is because when you come into the ecosystem of an e-commerce client, right, you want to make sure you look at different components of their business and how they interact together to be successful, right, online. One of those components is CRO, conversion rate optimization. That's what it stands for. And what it is, very simply, is increasing the percentage of visitors that end up converting for our desired action. Now, usually that desired action is for them to actually purchase our product. Just now we talked about how you want to make sure that for that top of the funnel that you're driving people to, right, you drive them to a core offer, and that core offer should be on a landing page. It should not be on a homepage or a collection page, right? And so when you're driving people to this landing page, you want to make sure that this landing page is highly optimized. And so that is why you need to learn a bit about CRO, conversion rate optimization. I could give you a full 2-hour masterclass on CRO. I'm not going to do it because it's probably pretty dense for YouTube, but as a key takeaway from this term is that you need to be aware of CRO, and you need to have it in mind because it could literally mean the difference between, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month. For example, let's just say that you are driving 100,000 people every single day to a website, right? And let's just say right now that 1% of those people convert. Let's say that with just a few simple tweaks, like maybe changing the colors of the buttons, or maybe optimizing your checkout process, you manage to increase that conversion rate by 0.5%, right? that literally means 500 new customers every single day, right? Obviously that is those are big numbers that we're talking about, but regardless of how many people you're driving to that landing page every single day, it is incredibly vital that you learn CRO for your client's sake, for your own sake, for making clients a lot of money. So that is the sixth term. Now onto the fifth one. The fifth term is a bit of a weird word, and it's COGS. Costs, let's see if this works. Cost of goods sold. Okay, it's a bit of a weird word, but incredibly vital. And the reason why I say that is because most agency owners, they think that, let's just say, I'm selling a pen for $10, right? Now they think that just because I pay Zuckerberg $2 to acquire this customer that pays $10 for this pencil on Facebook, I've just made my client $8 profit, right? Now, technically you have on the ad side of things, but what if the client is actually spending $9 to make this pencil that you just sold, right? Then actually you've lost them $1, okay? Because their profit margin, right? They're selling a pencil for $10 and they actually spend $9 to make this pencil, to ship this pencil out, is actually only 10%. And so you better acquire a customer for less than $1, right? Because if we acquire a customer for less than $1 would mean we've just broken even, right? And if we acquire a customer for 50 cents, then we've actually made them a $0.5 profit. Hopefully that makes sense, right? But what I want you to keep in mind, without leaving the numbers aside, what I want you to keep in mind is that the cost of goods sold for any business, not just e-commerce, for local business as well, is incredibly vital, right? Because you're not just, this is not just pure profit, okay? This is just purely the price of the product, right? This is not profit. And so when you sell this pencil for $10 and you spend $2 to acquire a customer that buys this pencil for $10, you haven't just made an $8 profit, right? You haven't just 5x their investment. No, you actually have to take a look at their cost of goods sold. That is the fifth term, and that actually leads me to the fourth term, which is break-even ROAS. Again, very quality handwriting, but break-even ROAS is essentially what I care about. More than anything else, the main KPI that I'm looking at when we are growing e-commerce businesses online is break-even ROAS. I do not care about ROAS. It's always funny to me when I see agency owners talk about how they always get their clients 2x ROAS. And that basically tells me that this agency owner is probably not very experienced. And the reason why I say that is because for a lot of clients, a 2x ROAS is not making them profit. Okay, and I'll explain why that is in just a bit. And so different clients will have different break-even ROAS, and you need to account for that when you're running ads for them. In fact, for some of our clients in the past, we've had to get them above a 3x ROAS to even be profitable. And so that gives you a bit of an idea as to why break-even ROAS is incredibly vital. It's a very easy calculation. We do 1 over profit margin. Okay, so here we can see that the profit margin of these guys was 10%, right? So it would be 1 over 0.1, which is 10x, if my math is not wrong. So for these guys, we'd have to get them a 10x return on their investment to just break even. I will let that sink in. Obviously, this example is a very rare example. I don't know many brands that have a 10% profit margin in the e-commerce space. We're typically looking at 50, 60, even 70% for some brands, depending on the niche, which again is very important to understand your niche and understand what type of profit margins brands usually have. That is why it's incredibly also important to laser focus into one single niche in the e-commerce space. But if they have a 10% profit margin, then you have to get them a 10x ROAS to just break even. We're talking about just breaking even. You haven't made them money and you haven't lost them money. Okay. Now, if they have a 0.2, if my math is correct, we'd have to get them a 5x. If they have a 30% profit margin, we'd have to get them a 3.3x. And the list goes on. Typically, that is why I don't really advise people to go for brands that have less than 30% profit margin, simply because you're getting into danger territory. Having to get them a 5x ROAS to just break even is honestly pretty crazy. But what I will say on this is, and going back to our repeat purchase rate and one-time purchase brands, typically, right, these brands that have lower profit margins are also high repeat purchase rate brands, right? And so they may actually be fine losing money on that front end and not even hitting the break-even ROAS because they understand that they have a really large lifetime value. So that is that for Break even ROAS, incredibly vital that you keep it in mind. It's also a very easy calculation, 1 over profit margin, and it's definitely something that you should consider for your clients. It's something that you should actually drive your clients through for them to understand what numbers you should be aiming at, and so that there's also no question as to your value. Now, the third term is actually a collection of terms: VC, IC, ATP, and WP. Quite a mouthful, but what they are is viewed content, initiate checkout, add to cart, and website purchase. And all these things are conversion events. And the reason why you need to understand it is because they're vital for Facebook ad targeting. And so you can actually tell the algorithm to look for people that are more likely to initiate checkout or more likely to add to cart. And it sounds a bit weird to wrap your head around it, because why would you want someone to initiate checkout, or why would you want someone to add to cart? Surely you want people to buy, right? You want website purchases. And while in most cases for my agency and for e-commerce clients, we optimize for website purchases, there are actually benefits to targeting other stages of the funnel, previous stages of the funnel, like for example, targeting people that are more likely to add to cart. And again, I could talk about this for hours, but for example, when you're optimizing for add to carts, you actually get a bit of a timing advantage. So you can get more data through the door, so you can make sure that the algorithm optimizes further, so that then when you optimize for website purchases, the algorithm has more data to work with, and it yields better results. Now, the second term that you must understand to be successful with social media marketing agency this year is CPL, cost per lead. How much does it cost you to acquire a lead? Now, this is more for local businesses, if you're running ads for local businesses. But understanding this concept, even though, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the local business space. If you're not new to my channel, you obviously know that at this point. But even if you're not doing ads for local businesses, understanding how this works is going to make you undoubtedly a much better online advertiser. So let's go right into it. Now, CPL, first and foremost, is understanding what a lead is, because I feel like there's a lot of people that don't actually quite understand what a lead truly is, right? Maybe you've heard the word thrown around a bunch in the space, but you don't quite understand what it is. So very simply, what it is, you know, here we've got a customer life cycle, right? Here we've got cold, so someone who's never heard about the brand, a complete stranger. And here we've got a dollar sign, right? So someone who's paid us money, someone who's purchased our product. Now, a lead is not someone who is not a customer, right? A lead lies around that. A lead lies around here. So it's definitely closer to being a customer, right? But it's also not a complete stranger. Okay, so it lies around here, and the big distinction is this gap right here has to be bridged for them to become a customer. Now, as agency owners, if you're running ads for local businesses, right, you're only optimizing for the leads. Why? Because they are responsible for closing the gap, right? For bridging that narrow road, which is the path to becoming a customer of theirs, right? And so, although you can get involved with it, and although you can show them, sales tactics and how you would go about upselling them to have them become a customer of theirs, it's very important to understand that you're only optimizing for the lead. And that is one of the reasons why, you know, when it comes to local businesses, you know, I just didn't really like it, because I could not die on my own sword, right? My value wasn't very clear. There was always a question as to whether the leads I was bringing were highly qualified, or whether the leads, whether it was a problem of the leads, or whether it was the problem of not being able to close these leads, right? And so that is one of the things that you want to keep in mind, the fact that that is one of the problems when it comes to local business, right? That you're not putting money into their pocket. And I love putting money into my client's pocket, right? I love, putting money into my client's bank account, right? Because then my value is very clear, right? However, it is true that you can attach a value to a lead, right? And that has nothing to do with CPL, but it will actually make my point, right? So let's just say that you can, that your cost per lead, right? So how much you're paying for a lead is $1, okay? Now let's say that you've acquired 10 leads for this customer. So we've got $1, $7, $8, $9, and 10, okay? So we've got 5 and 5. Hopefully that is $10, but let's just say that out of these $10, right? Out of this 10 leads, one of these people actually convert into a customer, okay? So one of them actually converts. That is a 10% conversion rate, okay? So we've got a 10% conversion rate, and that customer, let's just say the average order value, right, spends around $100, okay? So we've paid $10 for 10 leads, so $1 per lead. The cost per lead is $1. And now we're going to be attaching a value to a lead to make it clear to our client that, hey, if I bring you this many leads, it's technically like I'm bringing you this much money in, right? So we can attach a value to something. And that is one of the things that you should always be looking for when it comes to online growth and digital marketing and online advertising or whatever service you're doing for your clients. You always want to make sure that you convey the financial incentive and the financial benefit that they will gain from it. Even if I were a cleaner, right? If I was cleaning someone's office, I would make sure that I basically convey my value financially, right? So for example, I would tell my client like, hey, the time you're not spending cleaning this office, which is around 2 hours, right? How much is that worth to you? That could be what, $1,000 per hour, like $500 per hour, right? You're paying me like $20 per hour. So it definitely makes sense, right? Also, what is the cost of not having the office clean, right? Maybe you're not able to attract the top talent. Maybe the top talent that you hire are just repulsed by the state of your office, right? So I would constantly put it in the financial terms, right? Whatever service I'm offering, because people care about wealth, health, and relationships, right? And so if you can tap into those, then obviously your value is going to be much more attractive to people, right? So it's very simple math, right? If we've got 10 leads, right, and out of those 10 leads, one of them have converted into a $100 client, then that means that each lead is technically worth $10 on average, right? So each lead that we bring them is worth $10 because, hey, if we bring you 10 leads, right, those 10 leads convert into $100 and I paid $10 in total. So each lead is $10, right, as value. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Because $10 times 10, $100 in value. And so the value of these 10 people is technically $100 because one of them converts into a customer, right? And so you could tell your client, hey, as long as I'm getting you these leads for less than $10, I'm making you money, right? Obviously, this is without accounting their cost of goods sold, which we've already spoken about, just how important that is as a business owner to keep that in mind, because that will honestly set you apart from 99% of agency owners and business people in the space. But that is CPL. That is what you need to understand about cost per lead. The final term is CPA, and that is a much easier to understand term, also much easier to explain it. Essentially what it is the cost per acquisition, right? So how much you're paying to acquire a customer. This is particularly important in the e-commerce space, right? Where the amount that we spend on ads is very clear. The amount that we make our clients, the purchase conversion value on the ads manager, very clear. And our return on ad spend is also very clear, right? And so on the ads manager, you would simply have to look for cost per purchase, which is essentially cost per acquisition, and that would be the cost per acquisition. And it's incredibly vital because oftentimes when a client comes to us, right, we get crystal clear on what is the CPA that we should be optimizing for, right, if we are to be profitable with our client. And so when you get those cost benchmarks very clear, then it's actually quite easy to get results for your clients because, hey, if our CPA has risen above $12, then we should probably pull different levers to make sure that we decrease that, whether it's conversion rate optimization, whether it's, back end of emails, whether it's, making sure that you have a better ad, better creative, better ad copy, right? Better targeting. There's a myriad of things that you can tweak to make sure that your CPA stays below your cost benchmark. And that cost benchmark should be based around the break-even ROAS and, essentially what would make a client money, right? A very good way of explaining this is that pencil example that I gave you, right? Sure, we were selling the pencil for $10, right? And sure, we had acquired a customer for $2, but the cost of the pencil was $8. So anything above $2 as a CPA, as a cost per acquisition, would actually be losing the money. So we would need to acquire a customer below that $2 mark to actually make the money because the pencil cost $8 for the client. So that's a bit about the CPA and why I left it till the end, because the CPA really just wraps everything up in a very nice manner. So that is that for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. That gray like button that maybe you haven't tapped yet, go ahead and make that turn blue if you've enjoyed the video. If you took any value away from it, it helps out with the algorithm, and the YouTube gods just find it extremely sexy when you do that. Also, if you haven't subbed to my channel, there's so much content coming on SMMA, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, and a bunch of other really cool topics. So if you don't want to miss my next upload and free trainings just like this, go ahead and sub to my channel, hit the little bell icon so you never miss an update. And the final thing is, if you haven't checked out my free training on how to sign and keep 4-figure SMMA clients, don't know what you're doing. If you're enjoying this training so far, the depth that I go into in this training is honestly out of this world. And the great thing is there's not a big paywall, right? A lot of people, when they hear this stuff about free trainings and all this stuff, you're expecting a big paywall at the end with very little value from the actual masterclass, and that is just not the case. But I'll let you judge for yourself, because I'm also going to be closing it in the next few weeks. So go ahead and check that out. And as always, hope everything's going well in your journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.